This DIY, I will be using the 11 by 14 canvas from Dollar Tree and 3 of the large paint stir sticks. I'm going to start by measuring the paint stir sticks to the size of the canvas and cut them. Once I had all of my pieces cut, I then painted them using a mixture of the Waverly Antique Wax and black ink. To make them look a little bit lighter, I used a wet napkin and removed some of the paint. I just love this technique because you can see so much detail of the wood sticks, and I think it's beautiful. I then went ahead and removed the plastic from the canvas and I started to glue the paint sticks. Now the way I glue these were I used some of the wood glue to add to each of the sides, and then I started to glue the longer piece using hot glue. Once the longer pieces were glued, I then started to glue the sides, and I also used hot glue but only to the bottom. Look how beautiful this frame looks. Now you can pretty much add anything to this. Now I'm going to do a wreath using this Dollar Tree wire jute cord. I glued some of the Walmart boxwood greenery all around it. Now once I had it, I used one of the Dollar Tree clear little hooks. I will be adding the wreath first, so like that I know where I'm going to add my letters. The sticker letters I will be using for our nest are these that I got from Dollar General. I love the font of these. I'm going to put our at the top and nest at the bottom. Since these are stickers, they already come with adhesive, but to secure them some more, you can add Mod Podge right on top of them. After looking at it, I thought it looked too plain, so I decided to add a G using the Dollar Tree poster sticker letters, and I'm using the smaller ones to put Galvis underneath. And that is it. Now the last thing I did add was a sawtooth hook to the back so I can hang it to my wall. But other than that, I think this turned out beautiful. For my next DIY, I will be using 2 different wood ovals, and both of these are from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by removing the plastic from the bigger one, and I'm also using this table leg. I got this from Lowe's. I think it was under $4 or $5, maybe $6, but it wasn't that expensive. And I am going to just mark where the center is so then I can make a hole using my drill. I did make the hole smaller than the screw, so like that I can just screw the leg to the oval piece. Once I had that, I glued the smaller oval to the bottom using hot glue. You can use wood glue, I just chose not to since I am not adding anything heavy. I'm going to paint this using the same mixture of a little bit of water, the Waverly Antique Wax, and the black ink. I'm going to set this aside and let it dry. Now I'm going to work what I'm going to put on top of this. And I'm using the Dollar Tree jute wire cord to make a wreath in some fern that I got from Dollar General. I'm adding some boxwood right on top. The last thing I will be doing is just adding the wreath right on top of this little plant stand. And I made it into an oval, and then I added these Hobby Lobby candles that I got 3 on a pack. I am not gluing anything down since I do want to be able to switch the greenery all year round. So that is it for this DIY. I think it turned out beautiful. For my next DIY, I'm going to use one of the new wire picture hangers from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by removing the plastic and removing all the little clips. I'm going to reuse this love sign that I got from Dollar Tree a while back. So there is many different ways you can attach this to the wire. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to flip it around and then put the wire wreath and just use some thumbtacks and putting them in through the back. Once I had both of the thumbtacks in, I flipped it around. Now the greenery I will be using is from Michael's. I got this when they were 60% off, so they were under $2 each. I did cut a little bit of the stem off at the bottom because they were too long when I tried to put both of these together. Now I'm going to use a piece of jute twine to wrap it around the center and then tie it. Next, I'm going to tie the greenery to the bottom piece of the wire. Now because it is very thin, it is going to fall forward. So what I decided to do was just cut smaller little pieces of the jute string and then just tie some branches here and there. The last thing I did was just add a bow in the center, and that is it for this DIY. I think it turned out beautiful. My next DIY is one of my favorites. Now I got this letter G from Target a while back. It was on clearance and this is made out of cardboard. I'm going to start by painting the letter using white chalk paint. To decorate the letter, I did take off one of the stems from the wreath I made earlier, and I just started to cut all the leaves, and I just glued it all around the G, or actually the one side, and that is all I did to decorate this, and I think it looks so beautiful with the greenery. From Dollar Tree, I'm going to use one of the decorated boxes. These are new to Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the little tag, and I'm going to paint this using the same mixture I've been using. Now I'm going to put these together. All I did was just flip the box around and glue the G right on top of it. And I think this turned out so beautiful. This is such a perfect decor piece to go on top of your table. I will be starting with this Dollar General wood stake that I got for $1. It is 36 inches long. I am cutting 12 inches off, and I'm also cutting the little point at the top, just a little bit off. Now I'm going to glue this to this Dollar Tree wood square, and I'm using the Dollar Tree wood glue. I let this dry overnight, and this is how it looks the next day, all nice and sturdy. To paint this, I'm going to use a mixture of the Waverly Antique Wax, the black ink, and a little bit of water, and then I'm going to start painting this. Now before it dries, I am going to use a wet napkin to remove some of that paint, and I just love how this looks because you can see so much of the wood detail and it looks so beautiful. I am also using this wood base, so I'm going to paint it the same color. Now the next things I will be using are 4 of these wood boxes from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the metal label holder from all 4 and then paint them. And I used a mixture of antique wax and a little bit of black paint. Once they were dry, I put the label thing back on. I then started to glue the boxes to my stand, and I'm using a little bit of hot glue and some wood glue. And I glued 2 on one side and 2 on the other side. As you can see, I left like 3 inches in between each box. I then let it dry overnight. Once it was dry, I glued the bead right on top. And now here comes the fun part. I'm going to decorate my planter. Now I'm going to use these 4 galvanized kitchen bowls that I got from Ross. 4 came in a pack and they were $3.99. Now Dollar Tree carries tons of different things you can use instead. As you can see, they fit perfectly in the little boxes. Now I'm going to just add different greenery to each bowl. All of these beautiful greenery picks are from Walmart. Now the last thing I will be doing is adding a label to each box, and I just printed this out in a regular printing paper. Now I did put love grows here, and since I had a 4th box, I just added some leaves and a little heart. And that is it, guys. This is the final look of this beautiful planter. Hello friends, for my project I will be starting with 4 Dollar Tree shovels. You can find these in the beach section. I'm going to start by removing the screws so I can remove the shovels or the little blades. Then I'm going to use this Dollar Tree mat to measure the top part because I do want to cut all of them in an angle, and I'm going to cut these using my handsaw. I'm going to set these aside because I want to show you the rest of the things I will be using, so like that I can paint them all together. So from Hobby Lobby, I got these round wooden circles that were $4.99. 3 come in a pack. I will be using 2. And from Amazon, I will be using some of these beads to 20 mm. I will be mixing 2 different paints, the Waverly Antique Wax and the Waverly Chalk Paint in Elephant, and a little bit of water. I really love how this color turned out. You'll be able to see the color more once I remove some of the paint using a wet napkin. To paint the beads a lot faster and easier, I will be adding them all in a Ziploc bag, then I will be adding the paint. I love using this technique, it's so much easier. Once I have all the paints and the water in there, I'm going to just start playing around with them until all of the beads are covered in paint. Then I'm going to just put them on a tray and let them dry. And this is how everything looks painted. Now that everything's nice and dry, I'm going to assemble my little table. I use this square to trace it in the center, and this is where I'm going to add each leg on each corner. Now to glue this, I will be using the Sure Bonder wood glue sticks. To make my table March 30, I will be using my new toy. Is this electric glue gun, or it's not a glue gun, a stapler. It's a stapler and a nail gun, and I really love it. The next thing I will be doing is gluing all the beads all around, then glue the other circle right on top. And this is how the top looks. To make the shelf in the middle, I will be using this Dollar Tree 5x7 canvas. I removed the staples and the canvas. I'm only using the frame. I'm going to glue a puzzle box lid to the top, and then I'm going to paint it using the same colors I've been using. To glue this, I use the wood glue stick. I hold it in place for a couple of minutes until it dried. To finish this off, I use my Cricut to print out the word home. I will be adding it on the side, so like that you can still see it when I add the decor. And that is it for this DIY. I think this side table turned out beautiful. Starting with my first DIY, I will be using 4 large paint stir sticks, 6 of these wooden sticks that I got from Amazon, and I'm going to cut the paint sticks using my handsaw. Honestly, I didn't even measure them. All I did was just cut 2 of them the same size and the other 2 the same size. I'm going to make a square, then I'm going to start gluing this using the Dollar Tree wood glue. And because I didn't want to let it dry overnight, all I did was use some of the extra pieces of paint sticks that I had to glue them to the back using hot glue. To paint everything, I use a mixture of the Waverly chalk paint and elephant and the antique wax and a little bit of water. Next, I'm going to flip the frame around and I'm going to start gluing the sticks. I first started to glue 2 of the sticks going sideways, and I did have to cut the top one because it didn't fit. Once I was done gluing those 2, I then glued 2 more but going the opposite direction. For the last two sticks, I cut both of them in half. I then glue them in each corner. And that is it for this window frame. Now I'm going to show you how I did the wreath, and that is very easy. You don't even need an actual wreath form. I'm going to show you how I made one using popsicle sticks. From Dollar Tree, I will be using 5 jumbo popsicle sticks. And for the greenery, I will be using this beautiful fern pick that I got from Walmart, and it was 97 cents. I will be using the popsicle sticks to make the wreath form, so I am going to cut all of them in half. Now I'm going to use this wood circle frame, so like that I can start gluing them all around and it can make a circle form. And I ended up only using 4.5 of these pieces. I first did it and it was kind of small, and I didn't want it to be a little bit bigger, so then I just, before it all dried, I opened it a little bit more and added the last stick. I'm going to use some apple barrel acrylic paint to paint this green. Then I'm going to remove all of the stems from this pick. And I did only use like 3/4 of this pick. I didn't even use all of them, or maybe half of it. I don't remember. But it wasn't all of it. Now I'm going to just start gluing all of the stems, going one direction and the other one going the other direction. And look how beautiful this wreath turned out. And now I'm going to add it to this window frame. But first I'm going to glue one of these clear hooks like this. I can use this window frame all year round just by switching the greenery. And that is it for this beautiful window wall decor. For my next DIY, I will be using one of these Dollar Tree decor signs. Now mine's from Easter, but Dollar Tree carries tons of different decors that you can use instead. I started by sanding down the front and then painting it using some white chalk paint. I actually thought I was going to use the front, but I do end up using the back instead. Because I'm using the back, I am removing the sawtooth hook and the sticker, and then I'm going to paint this using the same white chalk paint. To paint the top edges, I will be using the mixture of the Waverly Antique Wax and the color Elephant. The next thing I will be doing is gluing this little extra decor sign that I had from a previous video. It comes from a Dollar Tree window. Now to make this 3D, I am going to add a piece of wood, and then I'm going to add my little sign. To decorate it some more, I will be using 2 of these stems, and I'm going to make a bow using this burlap ribbon. Once I am done making the bow, I'm going to make sure I use a string long enough so when I tie it, I can tie the leaves right behind it or in the back. And the last thing I will be doing is just gluing it at the bottom. And that is it for this DIY. I think this little piece turned out so cute. My next DIY is another simple and easy one. From Dollar Tree, I'm going to use one of these little tiny little decor signs, and I'm going to remove the succulent that's in the front and the sticker in the back. And these raw stickers that I had for a while already. Now the first thing I'm going to do is paint this using the same mixture I've been using. Even though it's already brown, the color I'm using is like a grayish brownish. I don't know, something like that. I'm going to put love using the stickers, and I'm trying to cover the little hole that the succulent left. To make this match the rest of my DIYs, I am going to cut the ends of the fern stems and then glue them to that top part. And to decorate this a little bit more, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree jute twine and wrap it around the bottom. The last thing I added was this little jute twine bowl I made. And that is it for this little decor DIY. I think it turned out beautiful and it's so cute. My next DIY is another easy one. Now from Dollar Tree, I'm going to use one of these vases and I'm going to paint it using some white chalk paint. The next step is totally unnecessary. It is a fail, but I do want to show you what I did. Now I used this burlap and I cut a piece off and wrapped it around the vase, and then I glued it to the top and bottom, but only to the burlap. I try not to glue it to the base, so like that I can remove it because I am going to try it and use this as a stencil. The reason I used that as a stencil was because I wanted to use these stencil brushes that I recently got from Ross. They were $3.99 and I was dying to use them, so I said let me use this as a stencil, but it was a total fail. Right now you are going to see once I remove that, it just made some dots here and there, so I just took it off and then just started to use the same brush and start stippling it all around the vase. And I did use the same mixture of paint I have been using on all these DIYs. And that is it. This was so easy. The last thing I did was just add some of the fern leaves to match the rest of my DIYs. Starting with the shelf, I'm going to use these two Dollar Tree signs. One says laundry, the other one says wash and dry. To be honest, I wasn't sure what to do with these. These have a different shape, so I was trying to figure out what to do, but then I was like, you know what? These are perfect for a shelf. So I'm going to start by removing the little clips, and I was trying to be very careful and not to tear the paper, but even with me using my blow dryer, it still ripped. So what I decided to do was just remove the paper from the sign. I thought of just doing it from one sign since it looked like I did a very good job on the second one, but I ended up just tearing it from this one too, but I will later do that. For now, I'm going to use two of the Dollar Tree wood crates, and these are the ones that have the little stars. They have different shapes inside, and I was only able to find the ones with the stars, so I didn't like how that looked, so I decided to cover those up using some jumbo popsicle sticks from Dollar Tree. Of course, this is optional. You don't even have to do this, but I personally did not like how that looked, even though I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to see it once it's all glued and you have stuff in there. But I don't know, I decided to just cover that. I use a total of 8 popsicle sticks. I glued 2 on each side. To glue the crates to the signs, I will be using wood glue and a little bit of hot glue because I'm going to leave these drying only for a couple of hours. I'm going to glue the first crate at the bottom, and then depending where you want your second one is wherever you want to put it. I didn't even measure it. I just went ahead and added it almost where it started to curve. Here is where I decided to remove the paper just so it can be even with the other one. I then just glue this on the other side. Now for the little handle at the top, I am going to make a hole using my drill. I didn't have a bigger little thing, so I decided to make like 4 little holes using the drill, and then I used a knife to make it a little bit bigger. And I am going to add a dowel that I already had, but Dollar Tree carries dowels you can use. They are not as thick as this one, but they can still work. Once I had it in there, I measured it on the other side, so then I can repeat the same thing I did to make the hole to this side. Once I had the dowel in there, I seen that the dowel was still a little bit too big, so I decided to cut it. To glue the dowel, I will be using wood glue. After letting it dry for a couple of hours, I am going to paint this using the Waverly Antique wax. And you can leave it this color. I love this color of the Waverly Antique Wax, but I decided to go over it with some white chalk paint because then I'm going to sand it down and I want some of this brown to peek through. I absolutely love how Lionette from DIY Beauty on Purpose does this to her furniture. So that is it for this DIY. I think it turned out beautiful, and the best part is that you can use this all year round. I was so excited when I found these window decors at Dollar Tree. I thought to just make this a little bit bigger, and to do that I am going to use 2 of these, and to one of them I'm going to remove the back just so it's easier for me to cut it. Plus I am going to use the backing on another project. So I'm going to start off by marking down almost to where it's starting to arc, and then I'm going to cut it. This is plastic, so it's very easy to cut through. I started to use my hand saw, but then it kept going crooked, so I stopped and then used my box cutter, and it still worked the same. So once I have that cut, I'm going to use the bottom of this, and I'm going to save the top for another project. I am also so excited to be using the Sure Bonder glue gun. They recently sent this to me, and oh my gosh, it is so nice and I love it. So now using hot glue, I'm going to glue this to the bottom of the other window decor. To make this sturdy, you can use E6000 or a heavier duty glue. I'm using some popsicle sticks and adding them to the back. I did have to cut these in half. I think it's called vertical. You know what I mean, just in order for them to fit. I'm going to now paint everything black, because even though the top part is black, it is like a different shade of black. And to paint this, I'm using the Waverly chalk paint in ink. I'm going to set this aside and let it dry. Now I'm going to work on the wreath I will be using in the front. And to do that, I will be using some boxwood greenery from Walmart and this wire jute cord that I got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to just use the jute cord as the wreath base. I'm going to start by making one circle, then I'm going to make another one, but with that I'm going to just twist it around the first one. Like that, there's going to be more surface to glue the greenery. Now for the greenery, I'm using this boxwood greenery. I'm just taking a little bit of the stems off, and then I'm going to start gluing them all around my wreath. I made a bow using some burlap ribbon and I added it to the bottom. Now to place this on my window, I am using these clear hooks from Dollar Tree. Since it's clear, I decided just to paint this black, like that it blends in more with the window. Now I'm going to just glue it to the top part, and then I'm going to add the wreath. And that is it for this arc window. I think it turned out beautiful. For my next DIY, I will be using the top part that I cut off from my first DIY and some Jenga blocks. I'm going to use 5 in total. So what I'm going to do is just glue the Jenga block to the arc piece, and I'm using some hot glue. The next Dollar Tree item I will be using is one of these Blackboard frames, and I'm going to remove the little back stand and the sticker. The next thing I will be doing is just gluing this to my other piece. I'm using hot glue, but I should have used wood glue, but it just takes longer to dry. That's why I use hot glue. So basically I just made another window using the top piece. Now I'm going to paint this using black paint. I didn't paint the blackboard just because it has like a different texture and a different black, so I decided to leave it, and I did add a little bit of paint while I was painting the frame, so I used a napkin to clean that up. To decorate my window, I'm going to use some greenery, so I will be using the boxwood greenery, and I'm going to cut 2 stems off, and to each end of the stem I'm going to add another small stem, so like that when I tie these together both sides are going to look fuller. And to tie this in the center, I'm just using a regular piece of juice string. I'm going to add a bow in the center. Now to make the bow, I'm using this burlap ribbon that I got from Walmart during Christmas. I love it. I think this goes so perfect because it has the black border. Now I am making a double bow. To make the bow, I made 2 loops and then I tied it in the center. I then added another piece of ribbon for the tail. To tie these together, I did use a piece of juice string, but I made sure it was long enough that I had leftover, so like that I can add my bow to my greenery. Then I'm going to glue this to the top part. And to finish this off, I'm going to use the Home Sweet Home that came with one of the windows and add it to the blackboard. And that is it for this window. I think it turned out beautiful and it looks so nice next to the other one. It looks like a 2-piece set. Next, I'm going to use this Dollar Tree Decor sign, and the back piece I removed from the first window. I'm going to cut the inside part using some scissors. This is plastic, so it's very easy to cut through. I'm going to glue this to the sign. As you can see, this frame is bigger, and I first thought of just leaving it like that, but it kind of looked weird because it was a little bit bigger than it. So what I decided to do was make some holes first, because this is where I'm going to add a hanger. And then I decided to break the sign apart and cut the top and the bottom piece, and like that it is going to look better. At least, like, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I think it looks so much better like this. Now, in order for these not to keep bending, I am going to add some popsicle sticks to the back. For this to match the rest of my DIYs, I am going to add some greenery to the bottom piece, and I did the same thing I did to my last one. I put 2 stems together and added a bow in the center. The last thing I will be doing is adding a hanger, so I'm using some nautical rope. And that is it for this DIY. I think it turned out beautiful. Next, I'm going to do a topiary. For this, I'm using 3 picks of the boxwood greenery that I got from Walmart. And I'm also using one of the floral foams from Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint this green. I'm going to remove the stems from all of the picks. I do want to mention that I did film this a while back and I lost some of the footage. I wasn't going to add this DIY, but I decided to add it because this DIY is so easy and simple to do. Now I'm going to make a whole bunch of holes using a skewer stick all around the floral foam. Then I'm going to start adding the stems. I did make some of the holes way too big, that's why I added some hot glue to some of them. And this is how it looks. Now I'm going to just fill the whole thing up, and once I am done, I'm going to glue it to a Dollar Tree candle holder. And that is it, guys. I think this topiary turned out beautiful and it looks so good with the rest of my DIY. These are the materials I will be using for my first DIY. One thing I did end up changing was the little crate, but you can still use it. Now I'm going to start with this big Easter sign from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use the back, so I am going to give this one coat of white chalk paint. Then I'm going to just sand around all the edges. Now I'm going to set that aside and let it dry. Meanwhile, I'm going to work on this Dollar Tree windmill, and I'm going to take it apart, and I found it easier by removing the front piece. It's going to be easier to remove the back. I will be making half a windmill with all of the blades, so I'm going to remove them from the wire, and it's so easy. All I did was just move them around until they came off. I then cut all the blades off, and I also cut the wire in half. Once I have all the blades and the wire cut off, I'm going to start gluing it to my sign. And I am going to do half a windmill, so I'm going to start off by gluing the wire first, and then I'm going to glue each little windmill. Once they are glued, I'm going to use this wire cutter and like twist the ends so like that the windmills are like sideways. I'm using the same centerpiece that I cut off, and I'm going to cut it in half because as you can see it is too small for that part. So by cutting it off, I made sure it fit, and it doesn't even, can't even tell that I attached both of these together to make one, or to make half of it. The next thing I will be doing is adding a little wood crate at the bottom, but like I said, I did end up switching mine, and instead I used a Dollar Tree wood pallet and some Jenga blocks. I just wanted something more taller and less wide, so that's why I made my own using these materials. I am going to paint them black before I start gluing them, but unfortunately I didn't record the whole process. I ran out of memories. Didn't realize it until I had glued everything, but all I did was glue 3 Jenga blocks at the bottom and then 3 right on top of it. Then I glued 2 on each side and then 2 right on top of that, and then I glued the crate. So I did use a total of 14 Jenga blocks. Hopefully I made sense. The next thing I will be adding is some stickers, and I'm using these Dollar General stickers. They are so nice. I love the font, but of course Dollar Tree carries other stickers you can use instead. For the greenery, I will be using some boxwood greenery from Walmart. Now I'm going to add some burlap ribbon. I decided to do this the last minute because the rest of my DIYs do have some buffalo check and I wanted them to match. To finish this off, I added some of these little wood sticks to the top and bottom. And that is it for this DIY. I think it turned out beautiful. It is one of my favorites. My next DIY is very easy and simple to do. From Dollar Tree, I'm going to use one of these house photo frames, and I'm going to start by removing the plastic and the inside of the picture frame. Then I will be using a piece of scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to trace the house and then cut it out. I decided to use the matte Mod Podge instead of my glue stick because I couldn't find it, one thing, and the other was because I'm using this on glass. I decided to put it on the glass instead of the cardboard because I thought that the cardboard was going to be too flimsy, and I think it was going to make more bubbles if I was to use the cardboard. But once I am done doing that, I'm going to just place it back on the frame, and I'm also adding the little back piece. Using the same Dollar General stickers, I'm going to put home at the bottom. And I thought I didn't have another M, but it turns out I did. But I didn't realize that until it was already glued on. So I used a W, but you can't even tell it's a W. I will be adding a wreath at the top, so I'm going to use one of these clear hooks from Dollar Tree. Now I'm going to make my own wreath, and you guys see me make my own wreaths now several times, but this time I am going to do it just a little bit different. I'm using the Dollar Tree wire jute cord and making a circle. Then I'm using some boxwood greenery, but this time I am going to cut the boxwood greenery and cut all the stems off and make a thinner wreath. After I'm done cutting them, I'm just going to start gluing all of the little stems around the wire. One thing I did do later on was just stain the frame just a little bit darker. And that is it for this home decor sign. I think it turned out so cute and it looks so adorable. For my next DIY, I'm going to use this Dollar Tree Easter sign. Right now, Dollar Tree is carrying other signs you can use instead. I'm going to start by sanding down the Happy Easter because it has a lot of glitter. Then I'm going to remove the hook from the back. The next thing I will be doing is painting all the sides using my Waverly chalk paint in ink. I'm also painting the top part using some white chalk paint. I decided to add a border to this, so I am using these wood sticks and making a border. You don't really have to, but I was just being extra. I wanted it to match the rest of my DIY. So before I glued them, I decided to add some of the same scrapbook paper I used in my last DIY. To glue this, I am using the matte Mod Podge. Then I'm going to glue the sticks to make the border. I did end up staining these after, so if you want to stain them, I do recommend you doing before you glue them. Now you can add whatever you want to your little sign. I am using these Dollar Tree wall decals and I'm using the bless sign or the bless sticker. To finish this off, I'm going to add some of the little small boxwood greenery stems and add them to the bottom. And I also added a small buffalo check bow. And that is it for this blessed decor sign. I think it turned out so beautiful. For my next DIY, I'm going to use one of these decor pieces from Dollar Tree and I'm going to remove the little thing that has in the front. Then I'm going to paint it black, and I did end up painting like the front little square piece that it has in the front white because I was just gonna use it like that, but then I decided to use it differently. But all I needed to do was just paint the whole thing black. Then I'm going to use one of the little Dollar Tree little wood crate or wood box. I don't know what to call this, but these are new and I'm going to just glue it on top of the black decor sign. The next thing I will be adding is a Dollar Tree bucket. I'm going to add it on top, but first I do end up adding this little sticker that I got from these stickers from Dollar Tree. The one I picked had home in the front, and all I did was just place it on top of that or inside the little tag part. And that is it, guys. The last thing I did was just add some boxwood greenery to the bucket. I think this turned out beautiful, and the best part is that you can use it all year round. I'm going to start with the tier tray. So from Dollar Tree, I'm going to use some toys. I'm using 2 frisbees. These are 2 different sizes, and this water, I think it's a beach toy. I'm going to start by carefully removing the little wheel. I was using my box cutter, but then I decided to just carefully break it off, and I did. Just be very careful and do it slowly so it doesn't break the whole thing. I was about to start gluing it, but then I realized that there's like a space, and I wanted this to grab real good to the frisbee. So I'm using some popsicle sticks, and I'm going to glue them to the bottom. To glue the popsicle sticks, I will be using some E6000. I then went ahead and added some E6000 all around the rim, and I did add a little bit of hot glue just like that. It can stay nice and in place and it doesn't move. Now for the inside, I had to like kind of repeat the same thing. I had to find some stuff to fill it in, so like that the top piece can glue nice and good to this little middle piece. So I did use a bead and some Jenga blocks. And once again, I'm going to use a little mixture of E6000 and hot glue. So I thought that the Jenga block was touching the bead, but it turned out it wasn't. So I decided to add this water bottle lid and add it there, and this made it more higher. So now the Jenga block does touch the bottom piece. To glue the top piece, I'm using some E6000 and a little bit of hot. I then added something heavy at the top and let it sit there and dry for a couple of hours. Next step is a little bit extra. I just wanted to add some more details to the center of my tier tray, so I'm using a skewer stick and some beads, and I am going to glue them in the center. Once I was finished gluing the beads, I let it dry for a couple of more hours, and then I spray painted this using some white paint, and this is how it looks. Now I wanted this to look like a wood tier tray, so I am going to go over it using my Waverly Antique Wax. And that is it for this tier tray that was made out of toys. Let me know down in the comment section, what do you guys think? I think it turned out beautiful. using 4 of the Dollar Tree bamboo cutting boards, 2 paint stir sticks, and this Dollar Tree pencil holder. I'm going to start by removing the plastic from all 4 of the bamboo cutting boards, and I'm going to line them up. Now I am going to make a space in between each one of them, and I'm using some dowels as spacers. Then I'm going to use the Dollar Tree wood glue and a little bit of hot glue to glue the paint stir sticks right on top. I'm going to remove the dowels and flip it around. And this is how it looks. Next, I'm going to paint the pencil holder using this white spray paint. And I'm going to paint the boards using the Waverly Antique Wax. I'm going to add a little bit of water, and then before it dries, I'm going to use a wet napkin and remove some of that paint just to make it a little bit lighter. And look how beautiful this color is. Now you can add whatever you want to the sign. What I'm adding is the word home, and I'm using these Hobby Lobby stickers that I already had. As you can see, I already used some of them, so I didn't have all the letters I needed. So what I decided to do is use the little sticker part as a stencil instead. So to do that, I'm going to cut them individual. Then I am going to remove the sticker part and place the letter in each board. I am only doing the H, M, and E. Once I had all the letters, then I started to paint them, and I'm using my Waverly chalk paint in white. Once I had finished, I just removed the stencil before it dried. That is because I didn't want it to get stuck to it. I then went ahead and finished the rest of the letters. Look how beautiful it's already looking. Now to finish this off, I'm going to add the little pencil holder, and this is going to work as the O. Now the best part about this DIY is that you can use this all year round by just switching the greenery. I felt that the pencil holder was too plain, so I decided to add some of the Dollar Tree leather ribbon and a tiny burlap bow. And that is it for this home decor sign. I think it turned out beautiful. Now to hang it to the wall, I did add some sawtooth hooks to the back. My next DIY is very simple and easy to do. Now from Dollar Tree, I grabbed one of these plastic containers. They were on the wedding section, and I spray painted this using the white paint. Next, I'm going to add some of the leather ribbon all around the top just to hide the little curvy details at the top. And that is it. Now you can use this all year round by switching the greenery. I think it turned out beautiful, and what I love the most is that it's a very tall planter. For my next DIY, even though I didn't use anything Dollar Tree related besides the score sticks, you can still find one of these circle plaques at Dollar Tree. and beads, but the ones I'm using are from Amazon and Hobby Lobby. I'm going to start by making the little legs. Now to do that, I'm going to put the small bead first and then cut the score stick, so like that I can add the larger bead. The small bead is from Amazon. It is 20 mm, and the larger bead is from Hobby Lobby. And I only use hot glue to glue these, but you can use E6000 or wood glue. Now once I am done with all 4 legs, I'm going to start gluing them to the circle. I forgot to mention that the circle is from Walmart, but like I said, Dollar Tree carries wood circles you can use instead. Now the next thing I will be doing is just painting this using the Waverly Antique Wax. And that is it for this little riser. I think it turned out beautiful. You can use it as a plant riser or as a tier tray. For my next DIY, I'm going to use another of the Dollar Tree bamboo cutting boards, and this little plaque that I had, I removed it from a Dollar Tree frame. So I'm going to start by removing the "This Is Us." I did try to remove it careful, but it still broke. Now once I am done doing that, I'm going to start painting these. The cutting board, I'm going to paint it using the Waverly Antique Wax, and the small little sign, I'm going to paint it using some white chalk paint. Now once everything was dry, I started to put it together. I am using the little "This Is Us." Even though it broke, I'm going to glue it together. And I'm going to add some of this Walmart greenery by tying it together with a bow in the center. It looks like I don't have the footage where I glued everything down on the board, but all I did was just use hot glue to glue "This Is Us" and the greenery. Now I'm going to add this little clips, so like that I can add a picture of my family. Next, I'm going to glue the board to the other side using Jenga blocks. And that is it for this DIY. I think it turned out beautiful. For this DIY, I will be using one of the Dollar Tree plastic baskets. This is already gray, but it does look plastic, so I decided to spray paint this using this metallic color. And I'm going to go and spray paint it. And this is how it looks. It looks so much better. It actually looks like a metallic. Now, I didn't spray paint the bottom since I am going to add 2 of the Dollar Tree bamboo cutting board. I will be reusing one of them because I only had one left. I'm going to go ahead and stain these using the Waverly Antique Wax. Once they were dry, all I did was just place them inside the basket. I didn't glue them or anything, or even I didn't even glue both of them together either. All I just did was place them because they fit there perfectly. And now I'm going to make candles. I will be using the Dollar Tree faux leather ribbon in the color dark brown. I love it. It matches the antique wax. Now I'm going to add the other handle to the other side, and that is it for this decorative tray. I think it turned out beautiful and it looks so high-end, and it was so easy and inexpensive to make.